Children's animation is entering a new era. And honestly, it feels like we're watching a long overdue passing of the torch. But why is that? The emotional, the daring, the deeply imaginative spirit that once defined Disney and Pixar has drifted. Not completely disappeared, but let's just say it's not where it used to be. In their place, we are getting a new wave of storytellers, animators, and studios who are unafraid to take risks, push boundaries, and actually treat young audiences with the intelligence and the respect that they deserve. Animation has always been capable of more than it gets credit for. Look, it's not just for kids. And the best children's films never treated it that way. What we are seeing now is a shift from this safe storytelling to more sincere storytelling. We get less formula and more feeling. Less merchandise first, and we're getting more meaning. Some of the more recent films like Flow and K-pop Demon Hunters shows us what happens when you let animation speak for itself. When the medium isn't just a genre or a tool for jokes, but a way to feel, a way to make children feel seen, to help them process things like grief, identity, loneliness, connection. Something that you would expect from classic Disney and Pixar. But meanwhile, these old giants are playing catch up. But they're not catching much. And why are they playing catch up? There was a time when Disney and Pixar defined what it meant to tell meaningful stories to kids. Films like Inside Out, Up, Mulan, Lilo and Stitch. They broke you, they healed you, and they stayed with you for life. I know they did for me, especially Inside Out. But lately, it feels like this formula is wearing thin. Instead of innovating, they're reaching for nostalgia. They're recycling stories. They're slapping on sparkling visuals and musical numbers without the emotional weight to back them up. Prime examples. Take Elio and Wish. Now these aren't terrible films, they're just very hollow. You can feel the studio scaffolding behind them. You got the branding. You got a checklist. The effort to be heartfelt without actually earning heart. And look, like I said, these aren't bad movies, but they're just okay. But Disney and Pixar used to define this gold standard. Okay isn't cutting it. Nowadays, it seems like Disney and Pixar are so distracted by live action remakes, reboots, and sequels that don't even capture the magic of these originals anymore. I mean, Universal's How to Train Your Dragon live action remake outshined them in their own category. It showed them how you do a reboot right. And now, for those that are missing this Disney and Pixar void, here's the good news. This void that is left, there's new creators that are filling it very fast. I like Flow as a perfect example. A dialogue-free film, animated entirely in Blender, telling a deeply emotional story entirely through movement and music. It's not just beautifully animated, it's emotionally raw. You don't have silly catchphrases. You don't have these market-tested comedic reliefs. You just have sincere, immersive storytelling. And as much as I love Flow, I can understand that it's not necessarily a great children's film just for the fact that there is no dialogue, and it's kind of hard to just keep a child planted and viewing a screen, just watching a story take place. Now, some kids you may be able to do that, and Flow still fits in this category because there is no dialogue. There's nothing gory or anything about it. It's a animated film that is PG-13, which fits beautifully under the child animation. And the best part about children's animation is that it should be able to be enjoyed by everyone, but I'm getting too ahead of myself. So let's get on to K-pop Demon Hunters, which I haven't talked about yet. I just watched it yesterday at the time of me recording this, and it absolutely deserves the spotlight that it has been receiving and that it needs. Sony Animation knocked this out of the park. The animation is fire. The pacing never drags, and you have funny, likable, and layered characters. And then you have the music. It is so memorable. It is so good. It is top tier. Like, if we're talking terms of Disney, we're talking levels of Frozen, Encanto, Aladdin, Tangled. But beyond the style, the film has substance. It has a story about identity, acceptance, belonging, and grief a little bit. We have Rumi, one of the lead singers of Huntress, who is this demon hunting K-pop band. Rumi is part demon, and she keeps it from her bandmates, Zoe and Mira. She's afraid of what they'll think. Meanwhile, Jinu, this antagonist who kind of turns ally, he ends up challenging her to embrace who she is and not hide it. He does this both literally and figuratively. He says it kind of to her, but she also figures it out on her own without his help, like direct help. And yes, it's a kids movie. It's labeled under Netflix as kids. It's PG. But it doesn't water anything down. It handles its themes with care and with confidence. And you know what it reminded me of is the Disney Renaissance era, a time when animated films weren't afraid to make these kids feel something real, give these kids a message. You got K-pop Demon Hunters as your newest. Flow, the wild robot, bad guys, or the bad guys. These movies are proving that animation doesn't have to follow the same formula. It's showing that you can tell these emotional stories without relying on IP, reboots, or this bean mouth art style that is blurring everything together. And we know this. We've been know this. It just unfortunately seems that with the new stuff that Disney and Pixar have been putting out, that it almost seems like studios are forgetting this, mainly Disney and Pixar. But what's most exciting about this moment in animation is that there's more creators that are treating the medium with the respect it deserves. We are seeing a return to the thoughtful world building, to character-driven narratives, to artistic risks that don't fit neatly into just a merchandise strategy. Studios like Sony Animation and Netflix, the indie collectives like Gintz with Flow and the team behind that, they're using tools like Blender to tell these stories that feel bold and flesh. Blender, that is a free animation software that you and I could download today, that I do have downloaded. The emotional arcs are tighter. The pacing is trusting the viewer. The animation is stylized, it is intentional, it is full of life. It is no longer trying to copy this same Pixar feel. They're not trying to recreate this magic of the past, this nostalgia heavy. We are creating something new. Children's animation should be timeless. It should move us. It should challenge us, inspire kids and parents alike. It should be a genre where you can have a 6-year-old giggling at the jokes. Right beside him on the couch, you got a teenager who can connect to these characters. And right beside her on the couch, you have adults that can cry from the themes. This shift, this re-revolution isn't just a trend, it is a correction. It is a necessary evolution in how we're telling these stories to children. Because studios are remembering that children's films can be weird, they can be quiet, they can be stressful, reflective, funny, dark, honest, and most importantly, they can be great storytelling pieces, period. So here's my challenge, and the challenge that I'm sure a lot of you have for Disney and Pixar. If they want to reclaim their place at the top, it's not about making these sequels or playing it safe. You can keep doing your sequels. That's not something that you have to take away, but it is about going back to what made your original stories matter in the first place. Do better. And meanwhile, to all the new voices out there, the animators, these indie studios, the writers who care more about this emotion than the algorithms. And yes, I know you care about the algorithms, but that's okay because you're still telling good stories, and keep it going. You're not just filling a gap, you're raising the bar from that gap. The future of children's animation isn't about who's got the biggest budget. It's about who has the biggest heart. And right now, that heart is beating in new hands. Hands that Disney and Pixar used to have giants holding over. This video is not a diss on Disney and Pixar. This video is motivation to Disney and Pixar. You should see this new stuff coming out not just as competition, but as motivation, as inspiration. A step that they took from when you ruled this industry, and they brought it to the modern day, and it is still successful, and it still works, and it is proving to you that it does still work. Disney and Pixar, you do not have to get rid of your sequels. Make your Frozen 5, your Tangled 3, your Incredibles 7, your Toy Story 10, 11. You can still capitalize on this because I know it breaks you in the money. But when you tell your original stories, you have to remember that you're still trying to recapture this magic for these little kids, these young audiences, and those that grew up with this. When we're watching Beauty and the Beast, when we're watching Tangled, the original Frozen, we look all the way back to Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella. I mean, the list just goes on and on with all these originals that have that magic. We are lacking that now because you put out Wish, which was a nostalgia feel, trying to replicate that Renaissance magic, but instead you just wanted to use it as pieces that you're taking from all of these old movies and stuffing it all together into Wish. And then Elio is just so voided of this soul and this purpose for this main character who honestly sucks. You're falling victim to using the same bean mouth animation style that just doesn't work anymore. No one likes it. It doesn't look good. What looks good is all the aliens and that entire world that you've built in Elio, not the humans themselves. Elio as a character is not great. You know who is great? Olga as a character. She is compelling. You know who else is great? Glorden in that film. This isn't the end of Disney and Pixar, but it is the beginning of something new. And personally, I think this is probably one of the most exciting times for animation in years. We have competition. We have newcomers. Technically, some old comers that are still putting out bangers. We're bringing in these new stories from what Disney ruled over for years. Let's see where it goes. Thank you for being here. If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed, why not? You're already here. Peace.